My name is Olivia, and this is my story. I grew up in a small town in the Philippines. Life there was simple. Our streets were narrow, lined with small wooden houses. Children played outside until sunset. Neighbors shared food and stories, and everyone knew each other. I was only 19 when I got married to Daniel. 19. Still so young. When he first came to visit my family, he was kind and polite. My parents thought he was a good man. They believed he could give me a better life. A life full of opportunities in America. But deep inside, I was afraid. I had never left home before. I had never traveled on a plane. I did not speak much English. How could I survive in a strange country, so far from everything I knew? The hardest part was leaving my mother. She was my comfort, my strength. Every morning, she would make me breakfast, and every evening, we would sit together and talk. Her laughter filled our house, her hugs healed my sadness. I could not imagine life without her. For 3 weeks, Daniel stayed with us in the Philippines after the wedding. He was quiet, reserved, and didn't talk much. I thought maybe he was shy, maybe he just needed time to adjust. I convinced myself that everything would be fine. But then, the day came. The day I had to leave home. I packed my clothes, a few photographs, and the silver bracelet my mother gave me. She placed it gently on my wrist and whispered, "This is to remind you of me. Stay strong, my daughter." I hugged her tightly, crying so hard that my chest hurt. She cried too, and I had never seen her like that before. It felt as if a part of me was being ripped away. On the flight to New York, I sat silently. The journey was long, the hours endless. My stomach ached, my eyes were swollen from crying, and my heart felt empty. Daniel didn't talk much. He just looked out of the window, leaving me with my thoughts. When we landed, I saw snow for the first time in my life. White flakes falling softly from the sky. People around me smiled, children laughed, but I couldn't. My sadness was too heavy. Daniel's father, Mr. Harris, picked us up from the airport. He looked serious, his face hard. His wife, Mrs. Harris, was at home preparing food, Daniel said. Their house in New Jersey was small and dark. It smelled unfamiliar, like old wood and cold air. I sat on the bed in my new room, clutching my mother's bracelet, fighting back tears. That night, I could not sleep. I thought of my family, my hometown, and the sound of the waves near our house. Everything I loved was gone in an instant. The next morning, Mrs. Harris gave me a list of chores. Her voice was sharp. Clean the living room. Wash the dishes. Cook the rice. Don't be lazy. I did not understand every word, but I understood enough. And so, my days began. I worked from morning until night. Cleaning, cooking, washing. My hands became dry from cold water, my back ached from bending. I wanted to rest, but Daniel only said, "My mom likes things clean. Do your best." I started to feel like a helper, not a daughter-in-law. Mr. Harris shouted when I made mistakes. One time I burned the rice, and he shouted so loudly I cried in the bathroom for an hour. Daniel didn't comfort me. He didn't stand by me. He just stayed silent. Weeks passed. The sadness grew heavier. I missed my family with every breath. I wanted to call my mother, but Daniel said the phone bill was expensive. He allowed me to call her once a month. That one call became my lifeline. The sound of her voice brought me back to life, even if only for a few minutes. But I lied to her. I told her, "I'm fine, Mama. Everything is okay." It wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. After 3 months, I found out I was pregnant. At first, I was happy. Maybe now Daniel's family would treat me better. Maybe now Daniel would love me more. I prayed things would change. But they didn't. Mrs. Harris said, "Now you must work harder. A strong woman doesn't rest, even when she is pregnant." So I worked, even with a tired body and a heavy heart. Daniel stayed silent. He never asked me how I felt. One morning, I felt dizzy and almost fainted in the kitchen. I sat on the floor, tears streaming down my face. I was exhausted. I was broken. But that night, as I held my stomach, I whispered to my baby, "You are not alone. I will protect you. I will be strong for you." For the first time since leaving home, I felt hope. Time passed slowly in that house. Every day felt the same. I woke up early, cooked breakfast for Daniel and his parents, cleaned the rooms, washed the clothes. My body was there, but my spirit was fading. I was far from home, far from my mother's warmth, and every corner of that house reminded me I did not belong. Daniel worked during the day. He came home tired, but he never asked me how I was. At night, he sat in front of the television while I finished the chores. Sometimes, I looked at him and wondered, does he even see me? Does he even remember I am his wife? My belly grew larger as the months went by. I should have been happy. I should have felt loved. But instead, I felt more alone. Then came the money problems. Daniel began borrowing money from a man in town. His name was Marcus. I had seen him once, standing outside a dark bar. His eyes were cold, his smile dangerous. At first, Daniel said, "It's just for a little while. Don't worry, Olivia. I will pay him back soon." But the debt grew bigger. Marcus began calling the house. His voice on the phone made my heart race. He wanted his money. And when Daniel could not pay, Marcus started coming to the door. I remember one night clearly. It was late, the air was cold, and I was washing dishes. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. My hands trembled. I opened it, and there he was, Marcus. He stood tall, with a smirk on his face. His coat smelled of smoke, his eyes sharp. "Tell your husband," he said, "that if he doesn't pay me back, I'll take something else." I froze. What did he mean by that? I closed the door quickly, my body shaking. When Daniel came home, I begged him. "Please, don't deal with him anymore. He's dangerous. I'm scared." But Daniel just sighed and said, "You don't understand. I have no choice." That night, I couldn't sleep. I held my stomach, whispering to my baby again. "I will protect you. I will find a way." The visits from Marcus became more frequent. Sometimes, he stood outside the house, just watching. Other times, he called late at night. My heart raced every time the phone rang. Mrs. Harris grew angry. "Your husband is bringing trouble here," she said to me. As if it was my fault. I felt trapped between fear and loneliness. There was nowhere to run. I had no family here, no friends, no one to turn to. And then, one evening, everything changed. Marcus came again. This time, he wasn't asking for money. He looked straight at me and said, "If Daniel can't pay, then you will." My blood turned cold. His eyes told me he wasn't joking. That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the floor, my hands shaking. The house was silent, but inside my chest was a storm. How could I escape this life? How could I protect my baby? For the first time, I thought, maybe I should run. The night Marcus returned, the air was heavy. Rain tapped against the windows. The sound echoed in the silent house. I sat alone in the living room, waiting for Daniel. My hands rested on my swollen belly. Then, there was a knock. Loud. Firm. I already knew who it was. My heart pounded as I opened the door. Marcus stood there, rain dripping from his coat. His eyes were fixed on me, sharp and cold. "Your husband is late again," he said. His voice was calm, but dangerous. I swallowed hard. "Please. Give him more time." But Marcus leaned closer. His breath smelled of smoke and liquor. "No more time," he whispered. "He owes me. And I always collect my debt." Before I could close the door, his hand pushed it open. He stepped inside. His presence filled the room like a shadow. I backed away, my body trembling. "Don't be afraid," he said. But his words were empty. His eyes told the truth. He wanted control. He wanted power. Daniel came home minutes later. When he saw Marcus, his face turned pale. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked, his voice shaking. Marcus smirked. "You know why I'm here. You owe me. And since you can't pay..." His eyes turned to me. "She will." I froze. Daniel tried to argue, but Marcus raised his hand. "Enough. If you don't want trouble, you'll do as I say." That night, Marcus forced us to follow him. His car was black, its windows tinted. The leather seats smelled of smoke. Daniel sat in silence, his fists clenched, but powerless. I held my stomach, whispering inside, "Stay calm, little one. Please stay calm." We drove through dark streets until we reached a mansion on the edge of town. Tall gates opened slowly, and Marcus's car rolled inside. The mansion was enormous, with stone walls and glowing lights. But it felt cold. Empty. Dangerous. He led us inside. The air smelled of whiskey and cigars. The rooms were filled with leather chairs, glass tables, and shadows. Marcus turned to Daniel. "You work for me now. Whatever I say, you do. Until the debt is gone." Daniel nodded quickly, his head low. But then Marcus looked at me again. His gaze lingered too long. I felt my heart sink. I knew what he wanted. And I knew Daniel wouldn't stop him. That night, I barely slept. I lay in a guest room of the mansion, staring at the ceiling. Every creak, every footstep in the hallway, made me hold my breath. I thought about my baby. About my mother back home. About the life I had lost. Tears slipped down my face silently. I whispered again and again, "I will protect you. I promise." But deep down, I wondered if I could keep that promise. Days passed inside Marcus's mansion. Every morning, Daniel left with him. He worked, he obeyed, he kept his head low. But I stayed behind. Alone. Surrounded by walls that felt like a prison. Sometimes Marcus would visit. He would sit in the chair across from me, watching silently. His eyes were sharp. Calculating. He didn't need to speak. His presence was enough to remind me that my freedom was gone. I smiled when the servants were near. I acted calm when Daniel returned each night. But inside, my heart was breaking. One evening, as I sat by the window, I whispered to my child. "We will leave. I don't know how, but we will. You will never grow up in this darkness. Then, fate answered. It came in the form of a stranger. His name was Adrian. A quiet man who worked as Marcus's driver. He noticed me one morning as I struggled to carry a tray. "You shouldn't be lifting that," he said gently. His kindness startled me. No one in that house had spoken softly to me before. Over the next few days, Adrian found small ways to help. He brought me fresh fruit from the market. He left a blanket at my door when the nights grew cold. And he never asked for anything in return. One night, I found the courage to whisper to him, "I don't belong here. I need to leave. My baby needs to be safe." Adrian's eyes softened. "I know," he said. "I've seen the fear in your eyes. I'll help you, but it will be dangerous." My breath caught. Could I trust him? If Marcus discovered our plan, it would mean the end. But when I placed my hands over my stomach, I knew the answer. I had no choice. 2 nights later, the plan began. Adrian parked the car near the servants' entrance. The sky was dark. The air was heavy with silence. "Now," he whispered. I slipped out, a shawl over my shoulders. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might betray me. Every step toward the car felt like a lifetime. When I finally sat inside, I exhaled a shaky breath. Adrian started the engine. The gates creaked open. And for the first time in months, I saw freedom. We drove through the night, the mansion fading behind us. Miles passed. Street lights blurred. I pressed my forehead against the glass and cried quietly. Adrian did not ask questions. He simply drove. At dawn, we reached a small town. He pulled over near a modest house with white walls and a wooden porch. "You can stay here," Adrian said softly. "It's my sister's home. She will take care of you." I turned to him, tears shining in my eyes. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. He looked away for a moment, then back at me. "Because no one helped my mother when she needed it. I can't change her past, but maybe I can change yours." His words struck deep into my heart. That morning, I stepped inside the house. For the first time in a long time, I felt warmth. I felt safety. Weeks turned into months. I gave birth to a baby boy with bright eyes and a soft cry. I named him Hope. Because that was what saved me. Hope for a new life. Hope for freedom. Hope for love that wasn't built on fear. When I held him in my arms, I whispered, "You will never know the darkness I lived through. You will only know light." Adrian visited often. He never asked for anything. He simply stood by my side, quietly protecting me. And slowly, a new chapter began. A chapter where fear no longer ruled. Where love was gentle. Where freedom was real. I was Olivia. And for the first time in years, I was free. Thank you for watching this emotional love story on the Love Chapter by Aree. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heart-touching stories. Tell us in the comments which country or place you are watching from. We'd love to know where our family of viewers is growing around the world.